Video we're going to be looking at using Python to manipulate text. So I'm going to be doing this on the REPL.it website. If you have idle installed at home, then this actually probably won't work on your idle because when you're running Python programs, idle has its own output window, and the output window doesn't support text positioning. So this is something that you need to do either on REPL.it, or it will work if you're running Python through another IDE, but it doesn't work in idle. Okay, so let's go to the new REPL button, and I'm going to create a new Python program. Just wait for it to start. Okay, so I can write my Python program into this white window here, and I can also write directly into the black window to do immediate Python commands. So let's look at some simple examples. First of all, I'm going to create some text over here. I'll make a long bit of text so that I can use it multiple times. So if I just put text, hello, this is an example text. Okay, there we go. So I'll click run on that, and it's created that variable. If I want to see what's in that variable, I can click in the black window and type text, and it shows me what that contains. So not only can I access the whole piece of text, but I can also access individual letters within the text. So to do that, I can type text and then open square bracket, and then if I type a number, for example 0, and close the square bracket, that's going to give me the 0th letter in that text. Now the 0th letter is the H at the beginning, so when I press enter it tells me H. You can probably guess that if I do text 1 in square brackets like that, the answer is going to be E. Okay, so this is really useful because it means that I can break up a string of text into its individual letters, and we're going to have a look at how we can use that to create some interesting effects in this program. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import curses. Now curses is a Python library which allows you to have more control over printing. So normally when we use the print command in Python, it just outputs text directly to the screen, and you don't have very much control about where it goes. But if you have a compatible text terminal, then you can import curses, and then you can do stuff like saying where you want the text to appear. You can also control what colors you want text to appear in. Various other things. We won't look at all of that today, but we'll just be using the ability to position text on the screen. Okay, so I have this text string, and if I want to use a curses program, then I have to follow a particular pattern. So the first thing is I write def main, and then in brackets I'll put S. Now that S is for my screen. So if I want to write something on the screen, I'll put s.add str, that's short for add string, and then let's just put the text that I want to print on the screen. Now to start the curses program, I put curses.wrapper, and then in brackets I write main. Now what this does is it says to the curses program, I want to start a program using curses, and my program is called main, and this is where I've defined main. So my actual program can just go in here, and I do all of the stuff that I'd normally do in a Python program here, but curses will handle all of the setup for me. So if I click on run, now it does actually output the string, but it disappears very quickly. So if I want to see what curses has done, I need to wait for the user to press a key before I clear the screen and go back to the command prompt. I can do that by putting s.getch. Getch is short for get character, and that just makes the program wait until the user presses a key. So I'll click run again. Okay, and now we can see that when I run the program, it prints that text onto the screen, and if I press a key, the text disappears, it goes back to the command prompt. That's the end of the program. Okay, so at the moment it's nothing special. Okay, we're just outputting the text on the screen the same as we would do normally. But let's try using some of the things that we saw a little bit earlier on. So first of all, I'm going to write a for loop, and this is going to count from 0 up to 5. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of outputting all of the string text, I'm just going to output the letter at that position. So I'm counting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm outputting each of those letters from this text. If I run that, we can see that it's actually outputted each letter next to the previous one, so it looks exactly the same as if I just outputted the first 5 letters. Okay, now let's say I want to output all of the letters. Well, if I wanted to do that, I'd need to know how many letters there are. I couldn't just put 5. There is a way to do that. So I'm going to create a variable, num letters equals, and then I write len text. That will tell me how many letters are in that text. So now I can put num letters instead of 5 here. And if I run the program, I'm just outputting the whole text again. So you're probably thinking, what is the point of this? I'm just showing you more complicated ways to output text. And so far that's true, but it does give us lots of useful abilities, because I can do things now, like for example, I could output that text in reverse order. Okay, I could flip the text around. Now I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, but before I do, see if you can do it. So pause the video now, see if you can reverse that text. Okay, so here's the answer. I know that I is going to count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 until it gets to the end of the string. Okay, so this is letter 0, this is letter 1, this is letter 2. Now what I want to do, if I'm going to put the text backwards, is I'm going to go backwards from here. So I'll start with this and then start with this. Now I don't know exactly how many letters are in that text. Let's just have a look. There's 33 letters in that text. So that means that if that is letter 0, this will be letter 32 at the very end. So what I want to do is 32 minus the number of letters, minus this I, which is counting upwards, instead of just using I. So instead of getting letter 0, I want to get letter 32 minus 0. And then instead of letter 1, I want letter 32 minus 1. So I could put 32 here and run the program, and that reverses the text. Maybe more flexible, because obviously this only works as long as the length of my string doesn't change, but I could write num letters minus 1, because remember num letters was 33. That works the same, but that means that if I add more to my text, then it's not going to mess up. Okay, so now we've done the first thing that would have been a little bit tricky to do before, because we've been able to reverse the text. Let's have a look at something else that I can do. So first of all, I'm going to delete that and check that it's gone back to how I would normally output the text. Now what I want to do is I'm going to scroll the text a little bit. So the idea of scrolling is where we show a part of the text and then we gradually pan across the text so that the person looking at the display can see the whole text. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have another for loop inside this first for loop. So I'll have for I2 in range 5. Now I'm going to output text I plus I2. Okay, now because I want to show this text and then pause for a little bit and then move the text, then I'm going to need to include a few extra commands. So I'm going to need to put s.refresh, which will update the screen. And in order to make sure that it doesn't go too fast, I'm going to need to put a delay in. So I'll import time up here, and then I'll put time.sleep, and maybe 0.5 seconds is about enough. So let's try running that program. Okay, now I've made a mistake here because I forgot to put coordinates. So you can see that what it's done is it's printed hello, and then it's moved along one letter and it's printed hello plus the space at the end, and then it's moved along two letters and it's printed lo plus the T of the next word, and then it's moved along another space. So it is doing the right thing, but it's printing each piece of text after the other. What I want to do is I want it to print that text in the top left and never move from the top left. So this is where the ability of curses to position text comes in very handy, because what I can do is I can write two coordinates. So I can put 0, 0 in front of this add string command. Now the first 0 is the y coordinate, so it's telling me how far to go down the screen. Now it is a bit counterintuitive to have the y coordinate first. Almost in every other situation we put the x coordinate first, but it's just for historical reasons that y comes first there. And then the second number is the x coordinate, so that's how far across the screen we want to go. Now by specifying an x and y coordinate, every time I print my text it's going to go in the same position. So if I run this now, my mistake, that should be I2. Okay, let's try again. There we go. So now you can see that the text kind of scrolls along to the right very slowly. This is the kind of display that you might get in a news ticker tape or something like that. Now there is a little bit of an error at the moment, because if you leave it going for long enough it's going to run out of text to display, and that's going to cause a bug in the program. But we can have a look at how to fix that a little bit later on. Okay, so hopefully you understand that part. Now at the moment I think that string is a little bit too short, so what I'd like to do is make it cover more of the screen. Now the amount of the screen that gets covered depends on this number here. So if I increase that to 10, it's going to get a little bit wider. There we go. Still not very wide. Let's try and make it a bit bigger still. So 20. Now the problem with 20 is I'm going to run out of text very quickly. So it starts off okay, but then I'm very soon going to run out of text. Okay, there we go, and there's the error. So I need to deal with the situation of what happens if I just don't have any more text. So what I'll do is I'll make a new variable, letter position equals I plus I2. Okay, now this is the position of the letter that I'm reading out, which I have here, and I'll change that to letter position. Now I'm going to use a special trick, because I know that if I get to letter position, if you remember this was 33 letters long, if I get to letter position 34, what I actually want to do is go back to the beginning. I want to go back to the H and use that again. And there is a trick I can use to do that. What I do is, after adding together the numbers, I use this modulo symbol. Okay, so the modulo means the remainder after you divide by a number. So if I modulo by the number of letters, and this I plus I2 is 34, then I've got 34 modulo 33. That means what is the remainder after dividing by 33? And 34 modulo 33 is 1. So it's going to take me back to the beginning. I should say the first letter is the E, but it's going to take me back to the beginning so that the text will wrap around. So let's have a look at that, and now I shouldn't have that problem with the text crashing. The message should repeat. There we go. There we go. So the message repeats now. Now, if the message repeats, I don't need to worry about making this longer anymore. I'm going to make this quite a bit longer. Let's make it 40 characters wide. And let's move it a little bit down the screen as well. So maybe I'll put it at y coordinate 10. And maybe I'll make it a bit faster as well. So let's make it the sleep time only 0.25 instead of 0.5 to speed it up a bit. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's looking kind of smart. I have got the cursor here, and that's a little bit annoying. So let's try and get rid of that cursor. So there is a way to do that. What you do is s.curseSetFalse. Now if I run that program, I might have made a mistake there. I think maybe it's curses.curseSetFalse. There we go, and now I don't have any cursor. Okay, now another thing that I can do, I notice the program stops at the moment, and the reason it stops is because this only goes up to num letters. I actually want to keep scrolling forever, so I'm just going to put in a really big number here. It wouldn't technically scroll forever, but I don't think that anybody is going to be patient enough to wait for it to eventually reach the end. If anybody does, then let me know, and that will be a great achievement. Okay, so let's run the program. Okay, and our scrolling text is looking a little bit smarter each time. Now, at the moment, I'm scrolling the text from left to right, from right to left. Well, it depends how you look at it, I suppose. But in any case, I'm scrolling it horizontally. But something that you could think about is, how about if I wanted to scroll that text vertically? So I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second, but before I do, this is another good time to pause the video and see if you can do it yourself. Can you make that text scroll vertically instead of horizontally? Okay, so guys, let's look at the answer. Now the thing to notice here is that this is where I put the letters onto the screen. And if you remember, I said that this is the y coordinate on the screen, and this I2 is the x coordinate. Now I2 is changing, so that's what means that the x coordinate is increasing with each letter. So let's try swapping them around. Let's make the y coordinate increase with each letter, and I'm going to fix the x coordinate at the same position. Now if I click run, okay, and I've got a bit of a problem there. Why have I got a problem? I think maybe it's because I'm going up to the number 40, and I don't think that my screen is actually big enough to fit that on. So I'm going to change that 40 to something smaller and click run again. There we go. Okay, so now it's scrolling upwards. If you did that, but then you got an error because that number was too big, and then you gave up, I'm sorry about that. I didn't expect there to be that extra difficulty, but if you swap them round and you guess that that was what you needed to do, then well done. Okay, so guys, now you know how to scroll horizontally and you know how to scroll text vertically. So we're almost at the end of the lesson, but I want to give you a bit more of a challenge. So I'm going to show you another program which I created a little bit earlier. Now I'm hiding the program here because my challenge to you is for you to create it, but what I've done is I've got text scrolling in all four directions to make a sort of rectangular text scroll. If I run it, you can see the text scrolling around. It's a little bit flickery, but this is running in a browser, so I wouldn't necessarily expect it to amaze anybody. But that is a little bit of a challenge for you to get the text scrolling in all four directions and make it go around in a rectangular shape like that. Okay, guys, I hope that makes sense, and if you have any problems, then just pop into the into the voice chat and ask me for help.